Showtime.
It's about that time.
Let's go.
You're right where you need to be. This is GCOM Radio.
Hardest radio station on the planet. Yeah.
Powered by Lyfeblood.com.
We certified.
And hosted by Nova Phoenix.
Give them that flavor.
All right. Okay, we are here. What is the deal, y'all? Yes, you are talking to, or excuse me, you are listening to, rather, to Nova Phoenix. I'm your host of GCOM Radio on iHeartRadio. And I am here after a 2-week hiatus. I know, guys, I said that I was going to only be off for a week. It turns out that it was 2 weeks. I've just been busy, man, and you can't do everything. I don't have 8 arms, and I was busy trying to get this Lyfeblood thing. As I said in 2020, coming into 2021, that 2021 was going to be a year that Lyfeblood was going to make some moves business-wise, and I was just handling, as I said, business. I actually was a part of this Virtual Summit West, which gets together entrepreneurs and founders and investors. And of course, with this whole COVID situation, it was totally online. It was for like 3 days. And I had fun, met a lot of people, met some folks, some investors, and I'm just working towards getting where Lyfeblood needs to be, listening to panels, getting some interviews going with some potential VCs or angels. And yeah, man, it was an experience. There's another one coming up. And I'm trying to see how I'm going to work that out. So yeah, as I said, you can't just talk about it. You got to be about it. And yeah, I'm trying to be about it. And hopefully we could get some things going on for hopefully, let's say spring, summertime. I'm crossing my fingers. As I said, I met a lot of good people, and it's about just making those connections and create a great business relationship. So a lot of other things also, not just with the Virtual Summit. Their next thing is called Virtual Summit Global. So they already got the invitation to go there, and of course online, and some other places. So I'm gonna be in and out. I'm not gonna miss another 2 weeks. I'll let you guys know where I'm gonna be off another week or so, because this is my first time doing it, this particular event, and I just had some follow-up calls to deal with and talking with potential investors, and it just spilled over into the following week. And I just wanted to prepare, have all my ducks in a row, and be right. I didn't want to mess up with what I was presenting, and I want to get all my information together. So, like I said, it was fun. So now I'm back. I'm not going to give you guys a full show, man. I'm not going to give a full show because I'm just coming back, and you're going to be like, yo, you had time. I guess. I guess. And you know what? My thing is, if I can't give you guys a full show, then I'm not, and I don't have everything together. I'm not going to just, I'd just rather speak to you guys on a one-on-one for a little bit, about 30 to 35 minutes. Hopefully, I'm going to try to keep it within 30 to 35 minutes. And just, touch this mic, man, and speak to you guys as you going about doing your business. A lot of things have been happening. Oh my God, a whole lot of things have been happening, and some stuff I want to talk about, and I'm like, damn, really, it's going down. And yeah, so and getting back on the mic, I do enjoy talking to you guys and really sharing my thoughts on everything that takes place, and everything always ties into Lyfeblood.com. Because I was looking at this thing for as far as what podcast's about, and I'm like, I talk about everything under the sun, and everybody has their shtick in what they get into. And I just cover everything. It is I cover business, I cover social issues, political issues, anything inventions, technology, lifestyle, business, talking about even random pieces of information that I have in news you need to know, like things that you wouldn't normally look for in your busy schedule. Maybe you listen to this and you find a kernel of truth or knowledge that you didn't have time to research, and you hear it here. So and everything ties into Lyfeblood in one way or another. directly or indirectly on this social platform and what we're building out, because Lyfeblood is just not a business. It is a lifestyle. It is about a change in behavior and really getting the best of us together to talk to each other, to build with each other, and help each other financially. And hopefully whatever we do create on the platform, we could bring it out onto the global stage. So, all right, so let's just get some things going. I'm on a time frame. Let's see if we can wrap this up in the next 30 minutes. Okay, so what's going on? Big shout out to Francis Ngannou, man. He won over Stipe Miocic, I like to say. I didn't get to see the fight, but my brother hollered at me saying if I saw it, I only saw highlights. It was so easy to see fights. I guess that was boxing, because boxing, I could watch it. If I missed the fight or if I didn't pay the pay-per-view, I can always count on the replay the following weekend. But with UFC, it's really hard to, they don't do that. I don't know why they don't do that. They got the money out of pay-per-view. Why don't they just make it available on the UFC channel on YouTube at some point? You know what I mean? And you don't have to do it right away, because I know they don't. If you do that, then people won't pay for the pay-per-view. They'll just wait the following week. But maybe if you make it available, the fight available, the whole entire fight, the undercard and everything, in a week, not a week, in 4 weeks, in a month, or something like that, because people do want to see the fight. Sometimes they miss it. But big shout out to Francis Ngannou, man. He did his thing from the highlights that I did see. Stipe, he's a champion, and he put up his best. But Francis Ngannou was just, he's a beast. Yeah, he was mean, he was strong, he was fierce. And Stipe didn't really have any answers for him, man. So, as I said, big ups to Francis Ngannou. The other thing, which kind of like breaks my heart, the shooting in Boulder, Colorado, man. It's truly a shame how in America we refuse to deal with this plague, man. This plague of people getting shot, these mass shootings. We are at a literal political standstill. You can guarantee if a mass shooting happens, you already know what the response is from the government or politicians. They just, because they have these interesting relationships with the NRA and other gun businesses and lobbyists and all that. It really kind of, we can't really deal with it. And then not just to the fact that we can't really have an honest conversation, but whenever the politicians do talk about it, and they have ways of just muddling the actual argument on guns. And they want to take away your guns, they want to do all this, and kind of like splits the attitude or the opinions of the masses, because people do listen to these politicians. And you go and ask people out there wherever they're coming from, especially gun owners, and they just basically regurgitate they really do believe the guns are gonna be taken away. And I'm a gun advocate. I'm for it. If I wasn't living in New York and I was living down south, I definitely have my guns. But there's a couple times where you have to be honest and really deal and be responsible human beings and say, okay, how do we stop these mass shootings from happening? So as of course everybody already knows that this shooting happened from the gentleman named, from Ahmad Aliwi Alissa. I think I'm messing up his name. Even though he has a Muslim name, and he turns out to be a white male. But he entered a King Soopers grocery store and opened fire, killing 10 people. I think they said that he started in the parking lot and made his way into this store. So I'd just like to give my condolences to the families that have lost loved ones during this terrible event. And it's important to remember the people that died and not just mention the name of the shooter. So in memory of them, I would just like to say their names. Denny Strong is 20. Nevin Stanisic is 23. Ricky Olds, 25. Trelona Barkowiak, 49. Susan Fountain, 59. Terry Liker, 51. Kevin Mahoney, 61. Lynn Murray, 62. And Jody Waters, 65. This is a sad situation that America just doesn't want to deal with. And we can't really have an objective open conversation about it. It's not about, and if it was anything about taking away people's guns, I would fully support it. Like if there was any information or air of ideas that they were trying to take away people's guns, I would talk about it because I'm a gun advocate. You know what I mean? But I don't see that right now. What I see is people trying to stop mass shootings from occurring, whether it's background checks or mental health checks, whatever it is. I mean, America, we do deal with it. We're a unique country. We deal with a lot of guns, unlike other countries. And I hear the arguments on both sides. But one thing I know for sure is that we got to do something so we can stop saying the names of the victims that die from mass shootings. Also, I think it's a big thing that we could deal with is mental health, as I think it's, guns don't kill people, people kill people. And I've heard this, phrase before, and I do believe in that statement. But if that being the case, it's important that we do have some sort of mental health support of people in their communities, because a lot of these shooters are broken mentally, man. When you go and do a background on these folks, they come from tragic backgrounds. You know what I mean? And I think it's important that we normalize or somehow work into our daily lives mental health support in counties and cities and communities across America. Because if we deal with that, then we can cut it off at the pass and keep someone from being a mass shooter. So, yeah, it's crazy. The other thing that's also tragic is the voting law, the anti-voting bill that passed in Georgia by all those wonderful politicians, those wonderful Republicans. What's his name? Governor Kemp, and all those, Republican politicians over there in Georgia snuck away into their deep recesses of their offices, in the shadows, past this anti-voting bill. And there's so much things going on with that. They're requiring identification for absentee voters. They're saying no more matching signatures. You need a driver's license number or a state ID, and if not that, a bank statement or current utility bill. That's crazy. They're saying in Georgia 200,000 voters lack a driver's license. I think that's madness. I think the other thing is they're saying is there's a misdemeanor to provide food and water. So it is a crime to provide food and water for people wanting to vote. Let me tell you, it's silly as fuck. People are going to get around this. Trust me. All you're doing is putting the battery in people's back, and they're going to find out a way to vote, even if people got to take a day off and take an L financially, economically. If they get paid per hour, they're gonna take the L for that day to go and vote. You are not stopping people from voting, especially if you're going to call providing food and water a misdemeanor. There was actually somebody that was so bold to say a voter, be like, you know what? Who wants to join me or putting together some sort of a picnic or food table on the line? Like, people are not going for it, man. People are not going for it. The other thing is provisional ballots. If you showed up at the wrong precinct, they're saying that you can submit a provisional ballot once the Board of Elections determines you are submitted in the right county. Now that's done away with. They say the new law tosses out those ballots, that you cannot send in those ballots. And what they say, the new law tosses out of precinct votes cast before 5 p.m. And I have a whole list of things here. I can't believe it's going down. They also took out banning mobile voting units. So those voting unit trucks where they went around in other communities, if people couldn't make it out to vote, they would have voting machines in those mobile voting units, which I think is a grand idea, but that got taken out. That's stricken from the laws. They also, the drop boxes where absentee ballots were left outside, they've taken them inside. And you can, the voting hours are from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Before, it was 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Now they shorten those hours, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Excuse me. And I've also heard when I was watching on my phone that they actually are saying as an absentee ballot, you cannot, it's also unlawful with this anti-voting bill to take the ballot that say, your elderly grandmother, because of the fact she's elderly and she's immobile and she's home and she's asking you to take her ballot to the voting booth. You can't do that anymore. That's illegal. The person who filled out the ballot has to show up physically to the voting precinct to drop it off themselves. If that is not the case, if that is the case, they will not accept your ballot. It is illegal. Madness. And lastly, not a lot of people are talking about that. They're saying the Secretary of State has been removed of head of state Board of Elections and as a voting member. Republican legislators say they could overturn the will of the voters through control of the state of the Board of Elections and pressuring the county Board of Elections. So basically everything that happened that was going on with Trump, and he was asking the Rafflesberger, I think his name is. I think that's the Secretary of State. Let me just make sure. The Georgia Secretary of State. Georgia Secretary of State. I think it's Rafflesberger. I do believe. Raffensperger. So they taken away his him as a head of state Board of Elections and him as a voting member, and now they're saying that basically they can pretty much throw out votes if they decide that they do not agree with the number that was put in the tally. Yes, the same thing that Trump was trying to do by talking with Raffensperger and saying, hey, why don't we do a recount? Can we just find about 11,000 or 15, whatever number he was giving, 1,000 more votes and to make this right? Now they're saying that it's legal for them to toss out votes if they do not agree with the number altogether. And they're going to put together their own Board of Elections. They can toss out all those people and put in their own folks. So, it's the effery of what the Republicans are trying to do, and they're standing by it hard body. Now, of course, a lot of people, you're talking with Biden, and of course, Biden finds it atrocious and da. I just want to see what's going on for the People's Act. And it's funny as that sounds, he can't do anything about it. He's saying he's having his people look into it at the Justice Department, but he's like, it's terrible. And I'm like, what's going on? That's all you got to say? That's all Biden got to say. Like, there's nothing, as a president, there's nothing else he could do with what's going on in the state of Georgia. Because right now it's unconstitutional. 360 degree different ways. If I'm saying it, the effery is afoot. It's just crazy. I can't even put my words together how effed up this is, man. Because, when Republicans, it's not about just making it all inclusive. Like, okay, maybe we need to shift how we're promoting the Republican Party, and we need to invite more POCs, more black people, because there's some things that are just that the Republicans stand by that I'm cool with on certain issues. There are certain things that I'm very conservative with, and I see myself jumping over the Republican Party if it aligns in what I believe in. But that's not going to happen because Republicans, how they promoting themselves, and I'm not going to get down with it. But I'm saying, if common sense comes back into play, yeah, I mean, why not if it makes sense, right? I don't affiliate with any party. But what they're doing, can you believe it, Joe? Can you believe it? Now, the funny thing is, I was watching this piece, Dr. Carr, man. I check out Dr. Carr with oh my God, with sis, man. I check it out every time, and I can't believe I can't remember it. Only when I really bring it up, I watch it, consistently, because the knowledge that this brother Dr. Carr has, it's called In Class with Carr with the Karen Hunter show, and they really build on African American history and everything. And this brother is knowledged. He has a memory. I can't remember what I wore last week. This dude remembers things from like 100 years ago. Details, people, places, bills, laws, everything. This man, I got to shout out Dr. Carr. But yeah, he actually said Governor Kemp is shooting himself in the foot passing these draconian laws, because not only are you going to affect black and brown voters, but you're also going to affect the poor white voters that are registered Republicans. So if we're talking about a numbers game and you're trying to lower the amount of people voting that are Democratic, what do you think you're going to do with the people that are registered Republicans that are poor? There are a lot of poor Republicans in Georgia that don't have driver's license. And what you going to do? They're not going to be able to eat. They're not going to be able to drink. So it's going to be interesting how this collateral damage is going to unfold as we get closer to election days. So yeah, man. But at the end of the day, we do need to force this for the People's Act to get going, because we can stop all this nonsense that's happening as far as voting. Voters are voters to vote. Everybody should have a right to vote. Even if you are a prior felon and you spent 20 years in a joint and you served your time, when you come out, you should be able to vote. Why not? Now you want to enter back into society as a productive citizen, get a job, pay your taxes, all those beautiful things. You should be able to vote. Why not? But that was a tactic, of course, to reduce the voting numbers for black and brown people that are disproportionately locked up and treated as felons or charged as felons. So we understand why that happens. So it'll be interesting how this thing is going to come about in the next couple months, in the next couple years. Another thing was this filibuster, man. And you know what? People voted because they were saying a lot of the folks that were open-minded, black and brown, white, working class, voted Democratic to get Trump out and to get Biden in so we can right this ship called America. And he said if it was going to come down to Georgia, and if we voted the right way, we can make it split down the middle in Congress, where the Democrats would control the House, they will control the Senate, they will control the presidency, and we would be able to pass any law that we see fit or the people sees fit by putting their trust in the Democratic Party, right? This is what was said. But no, they don't put you on to the details, right? So now we're dealing with the filibuster. Ain't nobody was talking about all this before. They didn't say like, okay, vote for me as Biden, right? Let me get in. The Democrats will control the House and Congress, and then we can make the decision on any laws that we weren't able to pass with Trump. However, Republicans can filibuster. We got to remove the filibuster. Now, Biden is an old dog in this political game, man. He's a veteran. He knows the filibuster. He knows Republicans have filibustered in the past. They use it a lot with Obama. Okay? He don't even have to be an OG in this political game. All he had to do was step in with Obama to know that the filibuster was used to hold up or to gum up the works in politics. Understanding that, how come he didn't at least prep the people and say and put it into their minds, listen, we're going to take this as Democrats, but be warned that Republicans are going to filibuster and we got to remove the filibuster, blee, 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 blee. No, that wasn't the talk. We were focused. People were hyper-focused. They were determined. They was like, get this dude out, Trump. Let's run this fucking thing and get things moving, right? Now we got to deal with the filibuster, and then Biden is flip-flopping. As from what I can see, he's not really taking a stance to eliminate the filibuster. And I'm like, well, why not? Of course, I'm always thinking like in layers, what's going on here? And it makes me think, okay, have Democrats used the filibuster in the past? So I did a quick little Google search. I couldn't find anything. A whole lot of Republicans using the filibuster as a tool to gum up the works. But Democrats, I haven't seen it. Not to say that it doesn't exist. I haven't seen it by my little research that I did do. But I'm still trying to figure out why he's kind of dragging his feet on eliminating the filibuster if it is holding up a lot of what the people want through the Democrat-controlled Congress. So I don't know what's going on. I'm listening to a lot of different people talking online on major news and independent news, because I'm really trying to get what is the strategy that he is showing in front of the camera to the people as he talks about it, and also what's most importantly, what he's not saying. So that's going to be interesting as that kind of unfolds too, especially in the short term, like in the next week or so, because the voting, the Democrats who voted and the people who voted for Biden, we impatient, man. I say we, because I did vote for Biden because I ain't like that dude Trump. And I'm not saying, it's not like I'm going hard for Biden either, because I understand politics. I wasn't born last night. I understand how politics works. But I know that we have to take steps in this political game, and it's all about strategy. And you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket in terms of voting, but it is a tool, nothing less, nothing more. It is a tool, and there are other ways where the people can get what they need by working amongst each other, and really putting the pressure on the Democratic Party, on Biden, to make sure he follows through with the promises that he said in the presidential campaign. All right, what else is going on? So, New York has settled the details for legalizing marijuana. Interesting. All right, so supposedly is going to bring in $350 million a year. The deal includes equity programs, quote unquote. Who knows what that means in detail? And that they're saying is going to be for loans, grants, and incubator programs for those that want to get into their marijuana business. The program is also going to decriminalize the possession of less than 3 ounces. It allows the removal of records of people who have been convicted of cannabis-related offenses, which is most important, because you can't legalize marijuana and then all of a sudden you still got a whole lot of people locked up on marijuana charges, and whenever they were, put in jail for like 5 years, 10 years. So that definitely all of those convictions have to be overturned. It will create an Office of Cannabis Management, which would be responsible for distributing licenses. On taxes, will go to the Fed, state, and city. The leftover after that, the revenue will be 20% will go to treatment and public education, 40% will go to school aid, 40% will go to a social equity fund. And lastly, but not the only what's left of this law. I'm sure there's more details to this. They're saying the drug will be available to people who are 21 and over. Consumption clubs where the drug will be consumed will be identified, and people can personally grow a total of 6 plants for personal use. My God, man, this is a long time coming. So yes, let's do this. Not that I will partake. I did it for 10 years of my life. It's not like I'm gonna run and like see myself in a cloud of smoke. That's I'm past that. But marijuana. What's marijuana? Marijuana is not like it's heroin or crack or something like that. I mean, it's a long overdue that marijuana has become legal. But the only problem is the problem that I have is the state and the federal. It's the federal government, because it's still illegal on the federal level, I believe. So even if the state passes it, I've heard of issues with the raids still happening at dispensaries and at people that are growing, federal agents. So, I mean, we got to get on the same page as far as the state is concerned and the federal government. So yeah, I'm happy in one way, but I'm also kind of weary. Like, okay, how's the federal agents going to kind of manipulate this to score some points here? So if anybody has any information on that, please share with me, man. But yeah, New York, I don't know how many states so far. Let's see how many states so far is with legal marijuana. Let me see. Number of states. Marijuana. 15 states, man. 15 states. That's crazy. Wow. 15 states. Well, interesting. So what are the 15 states? Oh, stupid. Man, all these paywalls is killing me, man. Like I go and want to read an article and then I click on it and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, you can't read it. You have to pay. Medicinal, decriminalized. This is a corny. So this is fully, wow. So Alabama's still fully illegal. Alaska's fully, what else is illegal? Idaho's fully illegal. Kansas is fully illegal. Nebraska's fully illegal. North Carolina is fully illegal. South Carolina illegal. Tennessee illegal. And Wyoming illegal. So, and this is from the map of marijuana legality by state by DISA. I don't know what DISA is. DISA Global Solutions. I don't know what DISA is, but it's showing you. Reducing time on the end. DISA offers on-site services. Oh, DISA offers. I know it's an acronym, but I don't see what it says here about DISA. Let's go about DISA. The DISA difference. As your trusted third-party administrator, DISA Global Solutions provides a wide variety of services accompanied by industry-leading expertise that's unmatched with our industry. Our solutions designed for employees in the DISA helps employers make informed staffing decisions with our comprehensive scope of services, including drug and alcohol testing, background screening, occupational health, transportation, compliance, and financial. Okay, I see what you're saying. All right. So anyway, so you heard some of these states that they're illegal. So, make sure you don't cross over into a border that considers marijuana still illegal, because you're definitely going to get arrested, man. All right, what's that? Yo, I was looking online, man. Ford got this new car coming out, man. The Mustang Mach-E, fully electric, 300-mile range. And I just saw that. I didn't even know that Ford had a Mustang that was going to be fully electric. I mean, this thing pretty much looks like, of course, every electric vehicle is copying off a Tesla. But this thing's got a panoramic roof. It's got a beautiful interior with just an iPad-like control console. It has a 300-mile range, which is pretty high for Ford Mustang Mach-E. But yeah, they're going all in, and it's just not Ford. A lot of other companies, the major car companies, are saying that they're going to come out with their own EVs in the near future, and I'm talking about taking over. Like ICEs, internal combustion engines, will no longer be the main vehicle of choice. Some of them are promising that they're going to be fully electric in like 10 years or somewhere by 2020 company. But it's interesting, though. I think they're saying traditional car makers are promising EVs by the millions, as I said, by late 2030, even though they only represent a fraction of EV buying marketing today. They're saying China is killing it with 50% of the larger market than the United States. See, I don't know why we're so behind, man. United States is supremely behind as far as innovating with new technologies. And I understand why, because there's so many champions, or not champions, but the captains of industry that are well entrenched in what they've been doing for the last 50 years. As much as they want to talk about the free marketing class and saying like the new will take over the old, it's not like that, because now you have companies that are nationwide and they have shareholders and they're making millions and millions and millions per quarter. They can't afford to just tank. And that's the sad thing about it, because you're taught one way, but then when you're actually in practice, when you're going about doing your business on a day-to-day, it's not really like that. Like, you think Microsoft is just gonna bow out if a new operating system were to come in? No. They pretty much cornered the market, to the point where the United States government was suing them for these antitrust laws, and they beat them. Microsoft beat them, and now the only operating system is Microsoft. So not just with Microsoft, but a lot of other huge companies in certain sectors. It's crazy, man. They're saying that even though there were poor sales of electric vehicles in America, they're saying that even Elon's Model 3 was like put the smash on it. They were actually the 2019's best-selling passenger car. So there is a market for EVs, but they're not making it easy for people to drive EVs, man. You got to have the infrastructure, which Elon built. And then you have to be, it has to be easily accessible. It's not like you go to a dealership and the first car you see on the floor is an EV vehicle. And they're saying there are other things like, what are you talking about? Those, what are those things? Rebates and all that, whatever. But they're really not really pushing EVs as much as they should. And a lot of, again, it comes with the technology, as I said, with these the captives of industry that really not making room for new technologies. And I always thought, the auto industry tied in with the oil industry. In a lot of ways, I'm not saying there's going to be some secret meeting that they're having and saying we have to keep EVs from rising and taking over the auto industry. But I know there are relationships that have been developed over the decades of these CEOs, these founders, these shareholders, and they join these meetings whether it's the G8 or G13, whatever you want to call it, and they actually schmooze and drink wine and they talk about how they can keep each other in business. I know that's what they do. You can't tell me that this doesn't happen. But eventually, you can't avoid it. Electric vehicles are going to take over. Electric vehicles are going to take over. Actually, they're saying to an energymedia.com, ENERGI media, according to a 2017 article, this gentleman named Tony Seba, a Stanford economist, he says the EV industry will kill the oil industry. Not just that, but he's saying that because of TaaS, transportation as a service, will become the growing standard. Of course, as things electrify, they're also going to be automated and there's going to be less individual cars on the road. And then people are just going to basically call like Uber and say, hey, they're going to punch in on their iPhones or their smartphones and say, hey, pick me up at 7 o'clock. And an autonomous car is just going to pull up and take you to where you need to go. That is the future. This is what this Tony Seba is saying. You can look him up, SEBA. And they're saying not just the oil industry, but car dealers are going to be heavily smashed. Maintenance and car insurance companies are going to bottom out because the more automated cars are on the road and the more economically viable it is to use an autonomous vehicle other than purchasing a personal vehicle, these industries are going to take a hit. And now this is just technology, man. Actually, also on the Reuters.com, it's saying fuel for road transport accounts for half of all oil demand. This will, of course, rise in barrel prices, but also the rise in demand for petrochemicals and plastics. And I'm not so sure about that because even if the auto industry and oil demand decreases because of more autonomous vehicles and the oil industry is going to put their bread and butter more into petrochemicals and plastics. But at the same time, the message is also to clean up the planet and using less plastics. So I think the oil industry in certain ways are going to be cornered and they're going to have no other choices but to do something else. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. But definitely, they're not going to just like, oh, no problem. We don't have to, even though we're not, the demand has lessened for personal vehicles and selling oil, right? Exxon and all the oil companies. We'll just put in the petrochemicals, but that's not going to work because, people are going to eventually want to move the plastic. Paper. As a matter of fact, the stores I go to now, they stop selling plastic bags. You got to either bring your own personal bag or you can buy for 5 cents or something, a paper bag. So, who knows? Yeah, man. So that's gonna be interesting how it plays out. And who cares with the oil industry? These big, tycoons anyway, because they're quintillionaires. What do they need more money for from the oil that they're selling, man? I think the money they made for the last 30, 40 years, that's great, 50 years, however, whenever the oil market really took off, it's time to move on to new things. All right, so next thing on the list is Derek Chauvin. The Derek Chauvin case has started, and they're already trying to build a case against George Floyd. talking about him having a drug pass. So, it's sad that this whole thing is happening the way it's happening. Oh my God, there's not much that I can say about that, man, because it's kind of like thinking back to when it jumped off in LA in '92. We're dealing with the same thing here, man, except it's different place, different face. And I'll be, watching this whenever they make it public, on televised, this court case as much as I can. But all I can say is, it's just tired of going through this thing day in and day out, man. Every day it's a new face, man or woman, black man or black woman, and it's just, right now I don't have much to say on that, man. What can I say that hasn't already been said? You know what I mean? From people that it's on TV. It's just, sometimes it's just emotionally draining, mentally draining, that we have to continue to deal with court cases like this, and it's like a revolving door, and yeah, it's crazy. I do personally believe Megan Thee Stallion, I forgot her name. She shared on her IG. Let me see if I could see. What's the name? They used to call her, let me see if I got this. Melissa Ford. Melissa Ford kind of shared on her IG about, a piece on the case. And I think it's simple. You got to deal with qualified immunity when it comes to civil cases. And when someone dies, a black man or woman dies at the hands of the cops, and there's a civil lawsuit, and the money that's gotten from the city, it shouldn't come out of taxpayers' pockets. It should be something that comes out of the pension plans or something like that. And lastly, I think personally, and I've actually said this on Melissa Ford's page, people from the communities that are dealing with corrupt, racist police officers, white supremacy in their local police departments, I encourage people to start their own security companies. Legit, of course, it's okay for someone, and even better if you have a background in security, you've been doing it for 15, 20 years, and it has to come from people in the community. Start up a security company and try to approach the city with contracts. Like, hey, listen, I'll take care of my neighborhood. Give me a piece of the money, the budget, the city budget, in order for me to get vehicles and pay, payroll and people, and we'll take care of our own communities. That's one way. And I'm trying to give some options here. I know these police departments have huge budgets, right? So hundreds of millions of dollars. What would it be that you could break it down to half, and you could pay people in the community to protect your own community? So you're knocking out two birds with one stone. You're reducing the amount of money in the city budget or what they pay police officers, the police department, and also you can eliminate racist cops from killing black people. This is an idea. I think it's personally, I think it's a fantastic idea. If I could do it, I would. But, I already have my hands full. I'm just trying to come up with solutions that we can, stop the killing of black souls here. So yeah. Next thing, shout out to Ghostface, man, and to the chef, Wu-Tang. They did their thing on Versus. Big ups, man. Big ups. And I gotta tell you, man, have you ever just listened to the Wu-Tang? Like, from the first album to the last, have you ever just listened to Wu, man? Any one of them. Whether it's Jizza, Inspector Deck, the Chef, Ghostface, Method Man, Master Killer, any one of them, man. U-God, Capadonna, just listen. A lot of these dudes are master poets, man. The wordplay that they're using, the verbs, how they saying things, man. They studying Jay-Z's lyrics and Pac's lyrics. They got to study Wu-Tang's lyrics, man. These dudes come up with wordplay. I'm like, people be like, huh? What do you mean? Sometimes that's internal, you know what I mean? With Wu-Tang, the way they talk with each other. But we in the Wu world when we put on their tape, their album, especially Wu-Tang Forever, man. Just listen to Wu, man. It blows me away every time I hear him. When I was listening to Chef and to Ghost, do their thing on verses, it really took me back. And I'm like, you got to appreciate these poets, man. These griots, these street griots, man. These cats is nice. And they work that pen. And you gotta appreciate lyrics when you listen to Wu-Tang. You know what I mean? And lastly, just to get out of here, because I think I'm way over. I always say I'm gonna say things short. It's already like 50 minutes. Oh man, I'm getting crazy static on my mic. I don't understand. I don't know if this is gonna get picked up. I'm getting crazy static. I don't understand why this is happening. I think I either need a new cord or a new mic. I had this mic for like 10 years. God damn it. Anyway, it's terrible what's happening with Asian folks as far as being run up on in the community, whatever city they're from. And it's terrible. And I always said it's always been Trump, man. It's always been Trump that really, he kind of, stirred the pot on all this China virus thing, and it's causing people. There's always going to be individuals that's highly susceptible to television and radio and listen to people, and they're going to do stupid things. And this is what they're going to do by taking on anti-Asian hatred, and they're going to see an Asian person and they're going to run up on them. And it's terrible. It's terrible, and we're going to deal with that. Definitely we're going to deal with that. It ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. But it makes me think. It does make me think. These last few cases, and I'm going to pull this up. There's one dude, they were saying that he actually ran up on an Asian person, and it's it's out there, right? So this dude is they said they put out like an APB Crime Stoppers on this guy that kind of accosted and assaulted an Asian person, and they would say they was trying to find this guy. And it's a funny thing, it's going around online that this same dude actually confronted the mayoral candidate Andrew Yang on the Staten Island ferry. What the hell he was doing, I don't know what he was doing there. But this guy looks like the same guy. And actually in the pictures it's circulating online for a couple of people, that this guy, the Crime Stoppers picture, and in the Crime Stoppers picture, he's wearing a leather jacket, pink hoodie, a chain, look like a rope chain, and a fedora with a white do-rag. And I'm like, okay, this is the dude. But then when it broke that this dude has been around before, and when he confronted Andrew Yang, now his back is to the camera, and he's facing Andrew Yang. I'm sure it's the same guy, because again, this guy's rocking a fedora with a white do-rag with a black jacket. And I'm like, is this guy going around running up on people like me? I don't understand. Like, what's going on? And, people saying this has got to be a setup. I'm like, okay, I don't believe everything I say, I don't believe everything, but I look at it. So I'm looking at this cat. I'm like, why is this dude running on Andrew Yang and he's going to run up? Okay, it is what it is. I keep it pushing. And then I see another news joint of another guy that rolled up on an Asian person, a woman in Manhattan. And I think this dude was homeless, right? This dude is wearing a Chicago Bulls sweater, holding a backpack, an army fatigue backpack, wearing a pink hoodie with a Nike black hat. I'm like, okay. All right, so, we got another this jerk off over here, right? So now I'm looking, I'm like, yo, this guy got a pink sweater. I'm like, man, this is fucked up what's going on, but they surely taking the same cues from a specific fashion designer. What's the odds of these people wearing, this guy's wearing a hoodie, the first dude with the fedora, and the second dude is wearing a pink hoodie. I'm like, oh my God, okay, all right, cool, whatever. But then, hold on, just hold on with me, folks. I saw another one where this guy, there's actual video of this dude kind of ran up, and it was it is video to it, and it was actually the hotel video that is directed to the entryway, the revolving door. No, I don't think it's a revolving door, but Anyways, the entryway to this hotel or this high-rise apartment, whatever it was, and how this big guy kicked this Asian woman or person down to the ground, hit him twice, and walked off. And then what really got people mad, it was the security guard didn't do nothing to help this Asian person, which I have absolutely no reason. I have absolutely no understanding why this guy did not help this woman, person on the ground, this Asian person. I'm like, dude, you just closing the door? And they're saying, well, he's only there to protect the hotel lobby, whatever. I'm like, dude, where's your humanity? Help the person that's out on the street. But again, they had another video capturing this guy. And guess what? This guy is wearing some sort of light pink jacket. I'm like, what are the odds when you have 3 different cases of each person wearing pink? What's with these dudes is attacking Asian people and pink? I don't understand what's going on. So I'm like, it's nothing. It could be totally nothing. I'm just making an observation here. But it kind of reminds me of back in the day, right? It reminds me of back in the day when I was young, in the streets with my friends, going about my business on the subway in the street. We knew who detectives were. As we call them in New York, on the New York streets, D's. We knew who the D's were. The D's were identifiable. The D's, of course, after a while, you knew who they were. They would wear typical black boots, right? Now, I wouldn't say combat boots, but typical black boots, right? Jeans. They would wear a baseball jersey, right? With a baseball hat, holding a book bag, and they would have a band around their arm, whether I think it's their forearm or their arm. And we all knew they all dressed the same way. Whenever they were trying to go undercover, you could sit on a New York City train, look out on the platform, and if some things is going down by the turnstile, you could look and you could point out a D. We all knew. It's like, yeah, it's a D right here. We knew, that's a D. The way he was dressed. And lo and behold, they all be Ds because they all dress the same way. Of course, as undercovers, you have to be identifiable to your own people, right? So I found that interesting. Not that there's any connection. I just find it interesting. 3 different attacks, and all these people are wearing pink hoodies. And the last guy that I saw on Twitter, he's wearing a pink jacket. Could be nothing. I don't know. But interesting nonetheless. That's all I got to say about that. All right, folks. I'm out of here. Thank you for listening to me, man. I'll get back into the swing of things next week with a full show and with all the bells and whistles. And I appreciate you guys listening, man, and holding on and understanding what I'm trying to do here. So I'll see you guys next week. I appreciate you listening. As I said, join Lyfeblood.com. We're about building a community, a connected community of like minds, forward thinkers around the globe. So hit me up, man. Hit me up anytime on IG. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lyfeblood, on IG or at Lyfeblood. That's where I'm at as far as social media is concerned. And I'm reachable. Or you could go to on Lyfeblood.com. And I always post the freaking thing, and I've forgot my freaking name on Lyfeblood. Anyway, sign up. Let's connect. Let's build. All right, guys. I'm out of here. See you guys next week. Peace.
Check it.
You just listened to GCOM Radio, powered by Lyfeblood.com. For the global community.
We worldwide, baby.
See you in the next go-round. From right here to your town. We out.